Hello students, myself Miran Patel, Assistant Professor at LG Institute of Engineering and Technology. Today's topic is about materials for construction of upper floor. So let's begin. An upper floor is basically a principal structural element and the general structure design of building will greatly influence the choice of type of floor. The upper floor are supported either on the walls or on columns. They have therefore the major problems of strength and stability. The structured design of upper floor has to be such as to support the loads set up by the use of the building, in addition to the self-weight and the weight of partitions, etc. Depending upon the material used for construction and the arrangement of beams, girders, etc. for supporting the flooring, upper floors may be classified into various types. Let's see various types of upper floors. There are total 7 types of upper floors available. First is steel joist and stone or precast concrete floors. Second is jack arch floors. Third is reinforced cement concrete floors. Fourth is ribbed or hollow tile flooring. Fifth is filler joist floors. Sixth is precast concrete floors. And the seventh is timber floors. Let's see all types of upper floors one by one. Starting with steel joist and stone or precast concrete floors. This type of floor is quite common in locations where flagstones or stone slabs are readily available in the span of 1 to 3 meter and width of 30 to 60 centimeter. You can clearly see in the plan the number of stone slabs are laid, okay, in a particular span. Where stone slabs are not available, precast concrete slabs can be used. Okay, the slabs are placed at the lower flange of rolled steel joists. You can refer the figure B especially where plain sealing is required, though in this case the bearing to the slabs is very small. Okay. Otherwise, the slab can be supported on the upper flange of RSJ, which is rolled steel joist, by inserting white stone bedding plate. You can clearly see this in figure C, called suboti between the flange and the slab. There are two ways of using these stone slabs. First is at lower flange of roll steel joints. You can clearly see this in figure B. Other or you can place these stone slabs above this flange. Okay, you can clearly see in this figure C. Okay, when the slabs are placed on the lower flange of joist, the space between the top of the slab and top of roll steel joint is filled with lime concrete or lightweight cement concrete after encasing the steel joists completely in cement concrete so that they do not get rusted. You can see this in figure B. On the top of it, regular flooring is laid. The spacing of rolled steel joists depending upon the length of available stone slabs. The joists have the clear span equal to the width of the room. Okay. The bearing of joist on the wall should at least equal to the depth of joist, but in no case less than half the width of the wall. Okay. It is better if bearing is kept just equal to the width of wall so that eccentric load of the wall is eliminated. A bed plate is provided below each end of the joist to suitably distribute the load to the wall. Sometimes stone slabs are available in lengths of 2.5 to 3.5 meter, such as those at Jodhpur. If the width of the room is slightly less than this value, stone slabs can be directly supported on the walls without using steel joists. You can see this in figure D. Such a construction is quite cheap. Okay. The next type of upper floor is jack arch floors. It is an arch of either brick or concrete supported on lower flange of mild steel joist. The joists are spaced 1 to 1.5 meters center to center and are supported at their ends either on walls or on longitudinal girders. The rise of the arch is kept equal to 1/12 of the span. The minimum depth of concrete at the crown is kept equal to 15 centimeters. Since the superimposed load or live load is being borne by arch action, tension is developed on supporting walls, especially at the end span. Due to this, steel tie rods are provided at the end span. at suitable spacing, usually 1.8 to 2.4 meters center to center. The tie rods are 2 to 2.5 centimeter diameter and are properly anchored into the wall. The end arch is supported on the wall by either providing roll steel joists into the wall or simply fixing an angle iron or mild steel in the wall. The bottom of the floor is not plain. This is the only disadvantage of these jack arch floors. This jack arch floor is of various types. First is brick jack arch flooring. Figure shows the detail of brick jack arch flooring. The construction on jack requires centering of 30 to 40 thick segmental piece of timber with chord length equal to the span of arch and conforming to the soffit. Then centering board is cut slightly at ends and is made to rest on lower flange of roll steel joist with curved surface upwards. Alternatively, a bent iron strap or clip is attached to its ends to form a hook through which the centering board is suspended from roll steel joists, as shown in figure B. After the centering is ready, bricks are laid on edge from both the joists. The end bricks are cut suitably to fit firmly with the joist. Only well-burnt bricks are used for the construction and they are saturated with water before using. Joists are encased in cement mortar so as prevent their rusting from the lime mortar. The bricks are laid in such a way that necessary bond is developed between different rings of layers of the bricks. In first ring, bricks are laid in lengths of 20 centimeter and 10 centimeter alternatively to secure good bond between this ring and the next ring along the length of the arch, perpendicular to this one. The key brick at the crown is laid in rich mortar and is pushed as tight as possible. After the first ring is complete, the centering board is advanced or pushed 20 centimeters further. The light blows of hammers to construct the second ring. The second and successive rings are constructed 20 centimeters long bricks. The last ring, however, is constructed with alternative bricks of half and full lengths. The entire brickwork is watered or cured for 3 days. The top flooring is then provided on bedding of lime concrete or lightweight cement concrete put on spandrel. There are various precautions to be taken while constructing brick jack arch flooring. First, before starting the work, the roll steel joist should be properly secured in position. Only first-class bricks should be used in construction. Successive rings should be properly interlocked. Key brick should be properly and tightly secured in rich mortar. If lime mortar is used, roll steel joist should be encased in cement mortar. Top concrete and flooring should not be laid unless the brickwork is properly cured. Okay, so these are the various precautions to be taken while constructing brick jacquard flooring. Second type of jacquard flooring is cement concrete jacquard flooring. This is how cement concrete jacquard flooring looks like. Figure A shows cement concrete jack are made of 1 to 4 proportion of cement concrete supported on lower flanges of milestone joist. The construction of concrete jacquard is relatively simple compared to brick jacquard flooring. The centering consists of 3 thick mild steel plates bent to the shape of arch soffit and having pair of holes at the ends, spaced at 75 centimeters center to center. The centering place is supported on the lower flange of joist through a pair of 12 diameter rods, each having an eye hook at its end. Each rod passes through the end eye of the other. You can clearly see this in figure C. And the total length is adjusted to the span of the arch. The ends of the rods pass through symmetrical holes of the centering plate. You can clearly see in the D image, and finally rest on the lower flange of the roll steel joist, thus providing the support to the mild steel plate as shown in figure A. In order to check the deflection of the centering plate, a wooden packing block is tightly inserted between the MS plate and the rods. When centering is ready, cement concrete of 1 to 4 mixed proportion is laid on top of the milestone plate to the required depth and is properly compacted either manually or with the help of vibrator. The flooring is then completed with the desired type of flooring material. The entire work is then well watered for 10 days for efficient curing. After that, the centering is removed by first removing wooden packing and then hammering the eyes of the rods toward each other. Okay, the underside of the arches can be plastered to give good appearances. Okay, so this is how cement concrete jacquard flooring can be constructed. The third type of upper floor is reinforced cement concrete floors. Floors of modern buildings are invariably made of reinforced cement concrete RCC because of the inherent advantages of this type of construction. Concrete, though strong in compression, is also weak in tension. However, it is suitably reinforced with the help of steel bars which take the entire bending tension. So if we use steel bar in the concrete, it reduces the weakness of concrete due to tension. Due to this, the overall thickness of RCC floor is comparatively small, thereby reducing the self-weight of the floor itself. RCC floors are also comparatively fireproof and dent-proof. The method of construction is also easy except that centering is required. These floors can also be used on large span and therefore more suitable for big size rooms, halls, etc. Okay. Nowadays, reinforced cement concrete floors are mainly used in number of type of building. There are total 5 types of RCC floors. First is simple slab flooring, second is reinforced brick flooring, third is beam slab flooring, fourth is flat slab flooring, and fifth is ribbed flooring or hollow tile flooring. Let's discuss these all types of RCC floors one by one, starting with simple slab flooring. In simple RCC flooring, the RCC slab bends downward, causing tension at the bottom fibers at the midspan. Due to this, mild steel bars reinforcement is placed at the bottom of the slab, keeping a minimum clear cover of 15 mm. Clear cover is nothing but the distance between the reinforcement to the outer surface. Okay. Half these bars are bent up near ends to take up negative bending moment caused due to partial facility at the ends. This main reinforcement is placed in the direction of the span of the slab, which is equal to the width of the room, especially when the length of the room is more than 1.5 times the width of the room. Such a slab is known as one-way reinforced cement concrete slab. Okay, so there are two types of slab: one-way slab and two-way slab. When length of the room is more than 1.5 times the width of the room, one-way slab can be constructed. If length of the room is not less than 1.5 times width of the room, two-way slab can be constructed. The nominal reinforcement, known as temperature or distribution reinforcement, is placed in perpendicular direction, as you can see in this image. Hooks are placed at the end of each plain bar, though these are not required in rib bars. The bearing of the slab in the wall should neither be less than its thickness nor less than half the width of the wall. Figure A shows one-way reinforced slab. Such slabs are quite suitable and economical for spans up to 5 meters. The slab is cast on timber or steel shuttering. Okay. After erecting the centering properly placed in position, distance pieces of stone or concrete are placed between the reinforcement and the shuttering plates so that proper cover is maintained. Cement concrete of appropriate mix, usually M20, M30, M40, is then poured and well compacted. The slab is then properly cured. Shuttering is removed only when the concrete has fully set. When the length of the room is less than 1.5 times the width of the room, the slab spans bends in the both direction. Okay, it is essential to provide reinforcement in both direction. In that case, such a slab is known as two-way reinforced slab. Okay, which is shown in figure B. At the corner, suitable mesh reinforcement is at the top and bottom to prevent their lifting. The plan of reinforcement of two-way slab at its top and bottom is shown in figure C. Okay, this is how reinforcement looks like in top and bottom in two-way reinforced slab. Okay, that's all about simple slab flooring or simple RCC floors. Second type of flooring is reinforced brick flooring. It is a typical type of construction in which compressive strength of brick is utilized to bear the compressive stress, and steel bars are used to bear the tensile stresses in a slab. In other words, usual cement concrete is replaced by the bricks. However, since the size of bricks is limited, continuity in the slab is obtained by filling the joints between the bricks by cement mortar. The reinforcing bars are embedded in the gap between the bricks, which is filled with cement mortar. Such type of construction is quite suitable and cheap for small span floor slabs carrying comparatively lighter loads. This is how reinforced brick flooring looks like. This is a typical section of reinforced brick slab. The depth of reinforced brick slab governed by the thickness of brick available. Modular bricks are 10 cm thick, hence the thickness of slab may be kept as 10 cm or 20 cm. If 15 cm thickness is required from design point of view, 5 cm thick tiles are used on 10 cm thick bricks to make total thickness of 15 centimeter. You can clearly see this type of arrangement in figure B. Okay, 10 centimeter brick and 5 centimeter tile is used. The joint between the two layers of tile and brick is filled with cement mortar. Before use, the brick should be thoroughly soaked in water. The reinforcing bar put in joints should not come in contact with bricks. When two layers of bricks are used, vertical joints in the brick should be broken, or you can say staggered, so that slab does not shear along the joint. Okay, the bricks near the edge should rest half on the bearing wall, so that vertical joint above the edge of the wall is avoided. First class bricks should be used for this type of construction. Cement mortar used to fill joint having proportion 1 and 3 ratio with proper water cement ratio to make mortar workable. Okay. The width of the joint between adjacent bricks is generally kept equal to 2 cm. The compressive strength of reinforced brickwork is sometimes increased by providing wider gap, say about 4 cm, between the bricks and providing 2.5 cm to 5 cm thick layer of cement concrete on the top of the bricks, as shown in figure C. Okay, so you can use 2.5 centimeter to 5 centimeter cement concrete layer on the brick also. Okay, so these are the various combination of reinforced brick flooring. Now let's see the third type of RCC floor, which is beam slab flooring. When the width of the room becomes more, the span of slab increases and simple RCC slab becomes uneconomical. In that case, floor structure consists of RCC beams and slabs cast monolithically. The beams known as T-beams act as intermediate support to the slab which is continuous over these beams. You can clearly see T-beam in the section of the figure. When the size of the room or hall is very large, these floor beams are supported on longitudinal beams which in turn are either supported on RCC columns or end walls. Okay, this figure shows the typical details of beam slab flooring. Next is flat slab flooring. A flat slab is a typical type of construction in which reinforced slab is built monolithically with the supporting columns and is reinforced in two or more directions without any provision of beams. So here there is no provision of beams. Slab is resting on the columns. Flat slab thus transfer the load directly to the supporting columns suitably spaced below the slab, as shown in figure. Because the exclusion of beam system in this type of construction, plain ceiling is obtained, thus giving attractive appearance from architectural point of view. The plain ceiling diffuses the light better and is considered less vulnerable in case of fire than the usual beam slab construction. Concrete is more logically used in this type of construction, and hence in case of large spans and heavy load, the total cost of the building can be considerably less in this type of flat slab flooring. This figure shows the reinforcement along column strip of long span and reinforcement along middle strip of the short span. Okay, this is how you can use the reinforcement in flat slab flooring. The slab in the flat slab construction may be either with drop or without drop. Drop is that part of the slab around the column which is of greater thickness than the rest of the slab. Okay, the reinforcement in the slab can be arranged either in two-way system or in four-way system. Two-way system of reinforcement is commonly adopted for slab subjected to ordinary loading conditions. This figure B and figure C shows the details of reinforcement in slabs along two directions in two-way systems. That's all about flat slab flooring. The fifth type of RCC floor is rib flooring or hollow tile flooring. You all know concrete is incapable of resisting tension, which is caused in the lower part, which is the thickness of the slab. Okay, this lower part does not participate in load bearing, and hence part of it can be replaced by hollow tiles so that weight of the slab can be reduced. This results in rib floor system as shown in figure. Unlike T-beam construction, the ribs of hollow tile construction are closely spaced. The clear spacing of ribs depends mainly upon the size of hollow blocks available, but it should normally not exceed 50 centimeter. You can clearly see the hollow tiles in between the slab. The width of ribs may vary between 6 to 10 centimeter. The span of ribs may be as much as 7 meters. However, when the span exceeds 3 meter, lateral ribs of the same width as the main longitudinal ones are provided at intervals between 1 to 3 meters. In that case, longitudinal ribs are designed as continuous beams. Okay. The main reinforcement is provided at the bottom of the rib to resist the support moment or negative moment. An additional bar is placed at top of the rib section. A minimum cover of 2.5 cm is also provided. The depth of rib is calculated on the basis of bending moment as well as the cost ratio of steel and concrete. The depth of rib is usually kept as at least L by 20 with free support and at least L by 25 with fixed support, where L is the span of the ribs. Due to small spans, the slab is normally not analyzed. Slab thickness of 4 to 5 cm is generally provided. To check its cracking and to distribute the load properly, shrinkage and temperature reinforcement is provided in the slab in both the directions. Sometimes a welded fabric is arranged approximately along the middle of the thickness of the slab. Okay. There are various advantages of ribbed or hollow tile flooring is also there. They are light in weight and hence the supporting system has to be designed for comparatively lighter loads. They provide better thermal insulation, keeping the building cool in summer. They have better soundproofing qualities also. They have better fire resistance also. Electrical, plumbing, and other service installation can be conveniently installed through it without affecting its appearances. Okay, these are the five advantages of ribbed or hollow tile flooring. Okay, these are the various types of RCC floors. The next type of upper floor is filler joist floors. This is a typical type of composite construction in which roll steel joists of small sections are placed in concrete as shown in figure. The spacing of joists may vary between 40 to 90 centimeters. The filler joists may either rest on walls if the span is less or on longitudinal steel beams. The joists act as reinforcement and no separate reinforcement is provided in the concrete filled in between the joints. Concrete should completely surround the filler joist and steel beams with minimum cover of 2.5 cm over filler joist. Next type of upper floor is precast concrete floors. With the modern development in construction technology, precast beam slab units are now available with the help of which the floor can be constructed easily and expeditiously without the aid of any firm work. These precast units, as shown in figure, are available in about 25 centimeter width, various depth and various spans, and can be supported either on walls or on rolled steel joists. The sides of each unit are provided with grooves to form connecting joggles for adjacent units. The joints are grouted with cement mortar using concrete guns. Such floors are economical, lightweight, soundproof, and also the fireproof. And the last type of upper floor is timber floor. Timber floors, though quite light in weight, have poor fire resistance and sound insulation properties. They are quite costly, except at those locations where local timber is cheaply available. It is also highly vulnerable to termite attacks. There are total three types of timber floor: single joist timber floor, double joist timber floor, frame or triple joist timber floor. First is single joist timber floors. This is the simplest type of timber floor used for residential buildings where spans are short or moderate, up to 4 meters, and loads are comparatively lighter. The floor consists of wooden joists, also called as bridging joists, spaced 30 to 40 centimeters apart and supported on end walls, over which timber planking or boarding is fixed. The width of joists are kept 5 to 8 centimeters wide. The depth of joist is determined as the thumb rule, like depth should be is equal to 4 times span in meter plus 5 centimeter. The joints are supported on wall plates 10 by 7 centimeter to 12 by 7 centimeter in size at the end walls. A space of about 5 centimeter is kept at the ends for air circulation. This is how single joist timber floor looks like. When span exceeds 2.5 meter, it becomes essential to strengthen the timber joist by providing herringbone strutting at middle span by means of inclined pieces of timber of size 5 by 3 centimeter to 5 by 5 centimeter as shown in figure. And wedges are provided between the wall and joist. The end of the joists are nailed, cocked or notched to the wall place. If the joists of adjacent room run in the same direction, they may be overlapped and nailed to each other. Planking consists of wooden boards of 4 centimeter thick and 10 to 15 centimeter width, which are fixed to the bridging joist. Okay, these are the various sections of the single joist timber floors. Okay, the second type of timber floor is double joist timber floor. This type of flooring is stronger and is used for spans between 3.5 to 7.5 meters. The bridging joists are supported on intermediate wooden supports called binders. Thus, the end walls in the form of highly concentrated loads. This is a disadvantage of this type of flooring. Also, the overall depth of the flooring is increased. Because of intermediate supports, the bridging joists are of smaller sections and are spaced at 30 centimeters center to center. The spacing of binders is kept 2 to 3.5 meter and they rest on stone or wooden bearing templates which are not less than 0.75 to 2.5 meter in length. This is how the plan and section of double joist timber floor looks like. In order to reduce the overall depth of the floor, bridging joists are cogged to the binders with a depth of sinking equal to one-third depth of bridging girders and bearing not less than 2.5 centimeter. Alternately, the Ends of the bridging girders are cut and they are jointed with the help of fillers provided along the two sides of the binders. Third type of timber floor is frame or triple joist timber floor. This type of floor is suitable for span greater than 7.5 meter, in which intermediate supports known as girders are provided for the binders. There are four elements of this type of flooring. First, floorboards, second, bridging joists, third, binders, and fourth, girders. The bridging joists support the floorboards. The binders are staggered and connected to the girders by tusks and tenon joints to increase the rigidity of the floor and to decrease the overall depth of the floor. This is the plan and a section of triple joist timber floors. This figure B shows the section AA through frame floor, while figure C shows the isometric view of joint details. Sometimes wooden grinders may be replaced by rolled steel joists. That's all about the various types of upper floors. Thank you for watching.